Let me ask you something. We're constantly told our video meetings are encrypted. Zoom says encryption, Teams talks about security, Google Meet talks about encryption. So why should an enterprise even care about self-hosting video conferencing?
Because encryption answers only one question. It doesn't answer the bigger one.
Which is,
Who controls the infrastructure your communication depends on?
okay, but for a normal business meeting, does that really matter?
For many meetings, maybe not. If we're having a regular sales call or weekly team meeting, using a managed cloud video service can make perfect sense. But now change the scenario. You're a bank verifying a customer's identity. You're a lawyer discussing a confidential case. You're a doctor speaking with a patient. Or you're a board discussing an acquisition that hasn't been announced. Now the question becomes very different.
Because the information itself is sensitive?
Exactly.
But here's what I would say if I were that customer. My meeting provider says the call is end-to-end encrypted. So what's the problem?
End-to-end encryption is extremely valuable, but organizations shouldn't stop their security review at the words end-to-end encrypted. They should understand the complete architecture.
What do you mean?
Ask some basic questions. Where is my media processed? Where are recordings stored? Where does meeting metadata live? What happens when recording is enabled? What happens when transcription is enabled? What happens when streaming is enabled? Which systems need access to the media? Those questions tell you much more about the actual privacy architecture.
Recording is interesting because people assume if my meeting is encrypted, my recording must work exactly the same way. Is that necessarily true?
No, and this is where you have to look at the architecture of the particular service. Cloud recording means something has to create that recording. Depending on how a provider designs the feature, recording, transcription, streaming, or other server-side services may require media to be processed by infrastructure outside the participant's endpoints.
So you're not saying encryption doesn't work?
Absolutely not. Encryption is essential. We're saying privacy is bigger than encryption.
Let me ask the uncomfortable question people are probably thinking. If my video is being processed by somebody else's infrastructure, can somebody just watch my meeting?
I wouldn't frame it that way. Modern video platforms have security controls, access controls, and encryption designed specifically to prevent unauthorized access. The enterprise question isn't, is somebody sitting there watching me? The better question is, who operates it? Who controls access? Where does the data reside? What systems process it? And does that architecture satisfy your organization's security and compliance policies?
That's a very different question.
And a much more useful one.
Okay, so let's say I'm a bank and I don't want my customer video infrastructure running through a third-party SaaS environment. What does MeetHour offer me?
Self-hosting.
Meaning?
Instead of relying on MeetHour's managed cloud infrastructure, eligible organizations can deploy MeetHour video infrastructure in an environment they control that could be infrastructure operated according to your organization's deployment architecture and policies.
So MeetHour provides the technology,
while the organization gets greater control over where that infrastructure operates.
I'm going to turn this around on you. What if I'm a bank and I don't want my sensitive meetings going through Zoom or Microsoft or Google, but I also don't want them going through MeetHour's cloud?
That's exactly the point. If your organization's policy requires infrastructure you control, don't use our cloud either.
Seriously?
Seriously, deploy MeetHour on infrastructure you control.
So who are you really building this for?
Organizations where communication itself can contain sensitive information, banks and financial institutions, law firms handling confidential client communication, healthcare organizations, government and public sector organizations, and enterprises discussing intellectual property, strategy, or other sensitive information.
Should everybody watching this immediately stop using cloud meetings and start self-hosting?
No,
That's probably not the answer people expected.
because self-hosting comes with responsibility. Infrastructure has to be deployed, secured, maintained, monitored, and scaled. For many organizations, managed cloud conferencing is exactly what they need. But some organizations require greater infrastructure control, and they should have that option.
So ultimately, this isn't really a cloud is bad argument.
Not at all. It's about choice. If you want the convenience of managed video conferencing, use Meet Our Cloud. If you're building a product, use our APIs and SDKs. And if your organization requires greater infrastructure control, self-host it.
So if I'm evaluating video conferencing for a bank, hospital, law firm, or enterprise, what's the one question you want me to take away from this conversation?
Don't just ask, is my meeting encrypted? Ask, who controls the infrastructure? Because privacy isn't only about what happens inside your meeting.
Thanks for watching our tutorial. Enjoy free video conference by Meet Hour. Please subscribe to our channel to stay connected with the latest updates.